The aesthetic of Expressionism had its origins in German, Austrian cities like Dresden and Vienna. Expressionism was something felt due to the densification, the urbanization, the technologization of these cities. A palpable danger and insecurity could be felt by everyone in the society. Here we revisit the French Impressionist Claude Monet. Monet is observing the external world outside of the mind, making it more objective as opposed to the Expressionists like Émile Nolda, who aimed at depicting the inner world, the subjective world of fear and loathing, insecurity and melancholy. This is Ernst Kirchner, another Expressionist painter, exploring the more irrational and dark states of the soul in this self-portrait as a soldier.
Les fleurs de clair de lune, les blanches merveilleuses roses s'ouvrent dans les nuits d'été. Oh, si j'en cueillais rien qu'une. Pour que mon mal s'apaise, je chasse dans les eaux sombres les fleurs de clair de lune, les blanches merveilleuses roses. Plus doux sera mon manque si, comme dans les contes, béatement j'effeuille sur ta chevelure brune les fleurs de clair de lune.
It's here that I must interject the narrative of our video lecture and warn us as a class against creating a false binary between the soft, billowing clouds and water lilies and beautiful, sensual sonorities of Debussy and Ravel and sort of user-friendly French Impressionism. I don't want to create a false binary by contrasting it with sort of the dark, spooky brown music of the Second Viennese School or the canvas painters, as we see in the video lecture. I think that these sort of binaries are dangerous, and we need to be more nuanced, subtle in our thinking, guard ourselves against creating a binary such as this. I love both Impressionism and Expressionism, sort of the French-German dichotomy. I have a foot in each. I became a composer, I think, largely in part because of Ravel and Debussy. But later on, I went through this phase where I really fell in love with the music of Alban Berg and Anton Webern, the two students of Schoenberg. Keep your eye on Schoenberg. He's going to come back. He's going to make a second appearance in this narrative we have going here, especially when we arrive at 1923. But that's at a later date. Of the two students of Schoenberg, Berg was the dramatist. Berg was he still had one foot in the 19th century, and he was like a German romantic, but in modernist clothing. The only good thing about a pandemic is you can smoke in class. All right, so having discussed this, spooky, macabre German expressionist music, which again is not for the faint of heart. There's something that makes you feel uncomfortable. It's more than melancholy. It can make you feel uncomfortable. It's atonal, or searching to be without a tonal center. So we've seen what expressionist canvas painting looks like, and we've heard this uneasy atonal music of Schoenberg, Berg, and Webern. You must take note that perhaps the most famous opera in all of the 20th century literature is Alban Berg's Wozzeck. Now we arrive at the piece that we're going to concern ourselves with. Wozzeck is 2 hours of really dark subject matter, the libretto I'm speaking of, but it's 2 hours of really quite dissonant music, rarely ever tonal. A little bit at the end it becomes tonal, but for the most part, this musical narrative is 95% atonal. And it has some really difficult vocal techniques called Sprechgesang or Sprechstimme, which is sort of a half singing, half declamation style of singing. It's a very dramatic style of singing. And this is what Berg calls for in his score. The libretto of Wozzeck, I will get you folks to research on your own. But we can talk about that later too. But I'll ask you about it. I want to make sure that you guys look up that libretto. You can read about that in Alex Ross's The Rest is Noise. And we'll also go over it at a later date before your midterm. But it's pretty dark subject matter. And again, the music is atonal and mercurial, meaning it's changing all the time. You just hear one sort of interesting texture and it shoots off and becomes something else. But the irony of all this is that audiences love this piece. And I've taught this piece for many years, and students generally, there's at least 5 or 6 students every year that become sort of aficionados. They become really intrigued by this opera. Just one last note is you have this libretto about this downfallen, doomed character named Wozzeck. So you have this narrative going on, this drama, and then underneath it you have, or supporting it, coloring it, you have Berg's atonal textures. But the craziest thing of all is that Berg wrote the music and the drama underneath instrumental forms, sonata form, rondo, theme and variations, the suite form, different dance types. It's really incredible. He wrote like inventions in the style, something like what Bach would do. It's not the language of Bach, but the inventions, thinking of the different kinds of inventions you can do. This is really interesting on a number of levels. You can spend the rest of your life just digging into this score and trying to understand what Weber's doing. I will finish by just saying the following. Most everything you bring me, whether it's Beethoven or some Stravinsky or the music of Steve Reich, whatever, I will show you how they wrote it. I have a good idea of how the music was generated. But I can safely tell you, I've been studying Berg's Wozzeck for many, many years, and I've never unlocked it. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know how he's doing it, or how he's thinking about it, how he's conceiving it, how he's able to generate this long narrative completely in music. And it's got a lot of notes and ever-changing textures and complexity.
Langsam, Wozzeck, langsam. Eins nach dem anderen. Er macht mir ganz schwindlig. Was soll ich denn mit den 10 Minuten anfangen, die heut zu früh fertig wird? Wozzeck, bedenkt er hat noch seine schönen 30 Jahre zu leben. 30 Jahre macht 360 Monate. Und erst wie viele Tage, Stunden, Minuten, was will er denn mit der ungeheuren Zeit anfangen? Heile er sich ein, Wozzeck?
Jawohl, Herr Hauptmann.
Es wird mir ganz Angst um die Welt, wenn ich an die Ewigkeit denk. Ewig, das ist ewig, das sieht er ein. Nun ist es aber wieder nicht ewig, sondern ein Augenblick. Tja, ein Augenblick. Wozzeck, es schaudert mich, wenn ich denke, dass sich die Welt in einem Tag herumdreht und kann ich auch kein Millimeter mehr sehen. Oder ich werde melancholisch.
Jawohl, Herr Hauptmann.
Wozzeck, er sieht immer so verhetzt aus. Ein guter Mensch tut das nicht. Ein guter Mensch, der sein gutes Gewissen hat, tut alles langsam. Red er doch was, Wozzeck. Was ist heute für ein Wetter?
Sehr schlimm, Herr Hauptmann.
Ich spür schon, es ist so was Geschwindes draußen. So ein Wind macht mir den Effekt wie eine Maus. Ich glaub, wir haben sowas aus Südnord.
Jawohl, Herr Hauptmann.
Oh, er ist nun ganz abscheulich. Wozzeck, er ist ein guter Mensch, aber er hat keine Moral. Moral, das ist, wenn man moralisch ist. Versteht er, es ist ein gutes Wort. Er hat ein Kind ohne den Segen der Kirche, wie unser hochwürdiger Herr Garnisonsprediger sagt, ohne den Segen der Kirche. Das Wort ist nicht
Herr
von
Hauptmann, der liebe Gott wird den armen Wurm nicht drum ansehen, ob das Amen darüber gesagt ist, die er gemacht wurde. Der Herr sprach, lasset die Kleinen zu mir kommen.
Was sagt der K? Was ist das für eine kuriose Antwort? Er macht mich ganz konfus. Wenn ich sage er, so mein ich ihn.
Ihr armen
seinesgleichen auf die moralische Art in die Welt. Man hat auch sein Fleisch und Blut. Ja, wenn ich ein Herr wär und hätt einen Hut und eine Uhr und ein Augenglas und kein vornehm Reden, ich wollte schon tugendhaft sein. Es muss was Schönes sein, die Tugend Hauptmann, aber ich bin ein armer Herr. Unser Eins ist doch einmal unselig in dieser und der anderen Welt. Ich glaub, wenn wir in den Himmel kämen, so müssen wir dann helfen.
So gut, ich weiß, er ist ein guter Mensch, ein guter Mensch, aber er denkt zu viel, das zehrt. Er sieht immer so verhetzt aus. Der Diskurs hat mich angegriffen. Geh er jetzt und renn er nicht so. Geh er langsam die Straße hinunter, genau in der Mitte. Und nochmals, geh er langsam, hübsch langsam.